One.
A 12-year-old boy gets booted from class over the Gadsden Flag patch on his backpack. The teacher says it has origins with slavery. A driver who allegedly killed a child in a school bus crash is an illegal alien released into the U.S. under the Biden policy. And Vivek Ramaswamy stands by calling Ayanna Pressley a modern KKK grand wizard. Also, federal court in Maryland says parents don't have a fundamental right to opt kids out of radical gender theory curriculum. And lastly, we're going to be talking about 3 bad bills, awful bills, set to vote here in Maryland. One includes decriminalizing the act of knowingly infecting someone with HIV. All that and more next. Hello. It is Wednesday and it's time for Pop and Politics. We are live and talking about the latest in hot topics, news, and entertainment. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-host. Tonight, of course, we have T. Hey. And joining us tonight, the first time in the studio, is Blanca Tapawasco. She is a bilingual education advocate right here in Baltimore City, and she's going to be talking about the latest in education, hot topics, and more with us tonight. So how are you ladies doing tonight?
Wonderful. Great.
Good. Yes. Blanca's been on before, but this is her first time in our new studio. What do you think?
It's gorgeous, and it fits the momentum that you all have, which is excellence in class.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Thank you. All right, so Shelly and Yana, they are out this week. They are, Yana will be back, I think, in about 2 weeks, and Shelly will be back next week. All right, so join the conversation by leaving a comment on YouTube or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show, and don't just comment, subscribe. Subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. Also, if you like independent media and love what we do, we support us by donating. Any amount is appreciated. We love our super chatters also. You can donate on our website at www.popandpoliticslive.com. Also, for up-to-date information, you get it right there along with our YouTube page. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, ladies, let's set it off. Yay. So we are going to start out with the viral video that I spoke about earlier in the show. The internet erupted in debate over the meaning of the Gadsden flag this week after a 12-year-old Colorado boy was reportedly kicked out of class for displaying the symbol as a patch on his backpack. Take a look at this video.
Thank you. Do they know what the Gadsden flag is? That it's a historical flag?
So the reason that they do not want the flag, the reason we do not want the flag displayed, is due to its origins with slavery and slave trade. That is what was, that's the reasoning behind why we do not want this displayed.
The Gadsden flag?
The Don't Tread on Me.
Okay. Which is the Gadsden flag. Okay. Okay. So he's what's going to happen if he doesn't take it off?
He is able to go. I was actually just telling him, I was upset that he was missing so much school. I'm like, so I asked him, can he just take his stuff out of his bag and go back to class? I just want him to go back to class. The bag can't go back. It's got the patch on it because we can't have that in and around other kids. So that's what I was trying to, and then he said you were close. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with slavery. That's like the Revolutionary War patch that was displayed when they were fighting the British. Like that wasn't, that's the revolution. Maybe you're thinking of like the Confederate Confederate flag.
Okay, I am
Is there
just
history
here
to
to
that
enforce.
you tell them?
No, I am here to enforce the policy that was provided by the district, and definitely you have every right to not agree with it. I mean,
Yeah, because
absolutely.
the ACLU says that he's allowed to wear that. If you like go on their website, it's like says in big letters.
All I'm saying is that
Unless there's like a ban on patches, period. Like if you said there's no patches allowed at the school, you cannot display what you think or anything like that, or what cheer or anything like that. I think it's like one-sided, you know, because you allow some patches but not other patches.
Kids have patches like other names and like.
Wow. So we, like many of you guys, this is back to school time for many of you across the country. And if this was back to school for this 12-year-old boy, and he gets hit with this. So as you can see, that administrator that was in Colorado Springs School claimed the flag has ties to racism and slavery and the slave trade, which is far from the truth. It's not true at all. It's not based in fact. I want to start with you on this, T. I mean, what are your thoughts on what they did there?
There are so many thoughts, especially from someone coming from a parent. And that boy reminds me of the face of my son if someone would have tried him with a patch, because they can wear all the rainbow patches they want to. But there's just so much going on in this video because it's wrong. It's false information, first of all. And I'm just wondering, like, where did the teacher or administrator get their information? They're the dumb ones here, and they're teaching our children.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on this, Blanca, but I want to give guys some information. So it's totally wrong. Christopher Gadsden is a general in the was a general in the Continental Army and a congressional delegate. Designed the flag in 1775 during the American Revolution. The politician wanted it to serve as a symbol warning Britain not to violate American liberties that would rally support against coercion, according to Mark Leipson, the author of Flag, an American Biography. So at the time, the image of the rattlesnake was a colonial era meme representing unity between the 13 colonies, thanks in part to Benjamin Franklin. And this is according to the New Yorker magazine. It's nothing to do with racism, nothing to do with the Civil War, nothing. What are your thoughts on this, Blanca?
Well, I found it interesting how she said due to its origins. Mm-hmm. Due to its origins. So I think to myself, due to its ignorance, this district has simmered down that the last and only right, when they said every right to not agree. So you have simmered it down where you just have a right to not agree. So what about the right to agree? What about the right to be able to evaluate? How about the right to research? It seems that the simmering down comes down to I'm ignorant, it's showing, and I'm just going to call it district, that the district, it always goes back to with the district office, you know, it's
right.
The district office.
Oh, right. So you're saying that they get the word from
sure.
upper
well,
management.
District,
right.
District sounds like, you know, hey, you know, mama, the big mama
right.
told us that, you know, and this is just, again, the first thing that came to my mind is they should have just been honest and said, due to the ignorance that we share about this subject, we really are going to blame it on the district. Mm-hmm. And if you, I would be curious to wonder if anybody would have called the district to find out if that's really even a policy.
I believe it was a policy. It certainly was a policy. But we're finding this theme within the left, within society as a whole now, where there's sheep. So this is supposed to be an educator. This is supposed to be a place where she's supposed to know something. And she was totally wrong. And yet she's pushing this rule. And it's not even true. It's ridiculous. And we find this is what they do. They're synonymous with this. And the reason why they're pushing this now, this flag was it was a big thing for liberty, for freedom.
Mhm.
These are all rights. These are all things that the right pushes for. The flag was, you could see it a lot at the Defeat the Mandates rally that I was at in DC, and Ayanna was there, also Shelley. We all went, and it was a flag you could see associated with the Tea Party. So I think it was more ideological, but it wasn't racist. It's not a racist flag. It's about liberty and freedom.
I find it ironic that it is about freedom, and here they are trying to take their freedoms of wearing a patch from a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah. It's a sickness. This is what they do. They don't want us to be free. They don't want freedom of thought, freedom of religion, but yet we are pushed nonstop with the LGBT things in the classrooms. Yeah. You can bring a Black Lives Matter flag or a patch. You can do a pride flag or a patch.
Right.
But they've created these lies, this bogus narrative behind this patch, and telling the boy he couldn't even be in school with it.
This patch is almost, or the flag is almost as delicate as the American flag, and as far as symbolism. And I don't understand. They have the American flag hanging up. I know in Anne Arundel County here in Maryland, they were trying to put the gay flags up.
They they do. Yeah.
So I mean, now they want to have restrictions on what people can do and what flags and patches and things they can wear in their own symbolism of freedom.
Yeah.
Well, in Bedford County, Virginia, a 17-year-old had displayed the entire American flag on the back of his truck.
Oh, right.
And
right.
He was told, in quotes, not allowed to put flags on the vehicles due to the distractive nature. And I have to, as a teacher and a mom, wonder, is it a distraction nature that the flag is portraying, or is it a destructive mechanism that you're using against this child who has a flag? Right. Now, this is the American flag, but even the child said, but you're hanging a flag in front of the school. So how can it be a distraction when it's hanging, but it's not a distraction when it's hanging in front of the school?
Right. It's ridiculous. And it's just, again, it's not based in any type of fact. It's not based in reason. They're doing this to curb freedom. That's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Any message, anything you do that is not on par with the left, with their messaging, then it's not right, and they don't want to see it, and you can't have it in school. Right. And this is where we're going with the country. This is, and it's sad, but this is what's happening, and we have to continue to fight against it. I am so proud of that boy. What was his name again? I believe it was the 12-year-old. I'm proud of him for continuing to wear his I can't find his name, but his mom, for standing up against this, for pushing back, for continuing to wear the patch. That's what we need more of in these schools. Right. And he's going to be something great one of these days as he gets older. So
absolutely, we
will continue to follow that story. It broke today, or actually yesterday. They did decide, after such pushback from all of the media attention, they decided to let him actually wear the patch.
Oh, good.
So I believe the district came in and said that he can indeed wear. I mean, this is coming from like Hunger Games type of stuff. It's ridiculous. But this is what we're living in. This is where we're living. We're going to talk about some more things like that as we go through the show tonight. But continue to comment. Thank you so much for your comments. Share this broadcast. Share it in a DM. Share it on your social media page. Like and subscribe. Definitely subscribe, because our podcast, our show, are things you want to be out there, want to see more people to see it, because we are for freedom of thought, freedom of religion, 2A, we're for all of that.
Constitution.
Right. Constitutional rights. And before we know it, if we don't continue to support us and things like this little boy standing up for his rights, we're going to get our rights taken away.
Yep.
They're going to be taken away.
They're working on it.
Yeah. So moving right along to President Joe Biden. So President Joe Biden's catch and release policy is under renewed scrutiny after an illegal alien allegedly crashed his minivan into a school bus last week, resulting in dozens injured and the death of an 11-year-old Ohio boy. This was his first day of school. On Monday, Breitbart reported that Haitian national Hermanio Joseph appeared in court in Clark County, Ohio, after being arrested on aggravated vehicular homicide charges. So the tragedy occurred on August 22nd. Again, this was this boy's first day of school. So as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, we're all across the country. Kids are going to school for this week, and maybe officially after Labor Day. And this tragic incident occurred. Not even more tragic, but to make matters worse, this illegal immigrant, he was entered the country illegally in 2022. He was then given an immigration hearing date and a notice to appear, and was subsequently released into the U.S. as is customary under Biden's immigration policies. This procedure has been called catch and release and was restarted after Biden dismantled numerous Trump-era immigration policies. Blanca, I know you've been kind of on the forefront of this type of stuff. I mean, what are your thoughts on this Biden policy? We're seeing it actually hurt right here in Baltimore and now here in Ohio.
Well, again, you all know, as my good friends, that I am a proud immigrant. I am a proud naturalized U.S. citizen. I am also a proud mom and a wife of an individual who chose to become a U.S. citizen last year. Because of the pandemic, he waited over 2 years. He wanted to vote in 2020, but wasn't able to. He was a legal residing resident until he chose and took that oath, passed that exam, not just knew the 2 senators that we have in Maryland, but knew what it took to the allegiance that he had in Peru were now going to be the allegiance to this country. He took it seriously. And so when I read that this individual was carrying a license, that the license read it was a Mexican license. When I read that he was just given a notice to appear, which basically is like when you go to school and you just get a late note. That note can be lost between the hall and the bathroom.
It's a hall pass.
Okay, it's a hall pass. And when I also read that he is being held on a $100,000 bond, I wonder who is taking care of that. And the individual, the passenger who was with him, will not be facing charges. This is what this person has now affected 24 families. One now is gone. That's the 11-year-old. 23 were injured. So it isn't just the bus driver and a person in the bus. You know, the bus can be replaced. That life is not coming back. It reminds me of the people that are committing crime here. See, right now, if no one is illegal, then a crime can pretty much be identified as an inconvenience or a freak accident. And that's what's outrageous right now.
T, I mean, we hear how these border towns are being taken over from illegal immigrants. But now we see this stuff affects us here, where you live, whether from Baltimore, Maryland, to Ohio, to New York. I mean, this stuff affects us here.
We've been trying to tell people this, but they only know it when it hits home. They don't, or when it hits even sometimes the news. But over 2 million illegal immigrants have crossed the border recently, and they have a years-long backlog of these catch and release, or Biden's calling it welcome and release, of illegal immigrants who are still, they have this hall pass.
Right. This is a major issue. If you are voting independent, or if you are a Democrat, I mean, you are voting for open borders, basically. Yes. This is what it is. It's open borders. The Trump administration had ended the massive flows principally by requiring asylum seekers to remain in Mexico while their cases were adjudicated, because most of these asylum seekers were actually economic migrants who are ineligible for asylum under traditional rules, and they simply went home rather than wait for the hearing. Their failure to gain entry then discouraged other would-be migrants from making the trip. Now, under President Biden, it's almost like a beacon, like a Batman call to every illegal person in the world. You can come to America. We are open for business. And I mean,
and we're seeing how they're actually crossing the border, pictures or images of them crossing the border with guns in their hands.
Right. I mean, and it's not just people from our bordering countries. You know, these can be terrorists. Mm-hmm. These are, you see, Chinese immigrants coming in there. I mean, and now it's not even the border towns. They're coming in at points of entry because they have this new, and we've talked about this before, he's put in this new thing called Parole, where potential migrants from all around the world have watched and learned, and now they're making trips themselves. Rather than stopping them, the administration is merely trying to steer them away from the unmanned sections of the border and toward ports of entry, where they can receive parole with immediate work permits, plus eligibility for most federal welfare programs within 5 years. This is ridiculous. We do not have a country anymore.
We don't even have the resources to welcome these people or to take care of them or maintain them.
And not only that, but we have a system issue right now with police. Police departments all across the country are down. You know, you don't have enough police. We don't even have people here, a system in place to help us, gather these people up if they are committing crimes. And you brought up a good point. So can you elaborate, Blanca, on what you mean by no crime will be illegal?
Right. If no one is illegal, then a crime can be identified as an inconvenience or a freak accident. And what I mean by that is that right now here in Maryland, here in Baltimore, there are chats, and I know that they're actual chats because there are groups that are pro-immigrants, as said, pro-immigrants, but they are individuals who are basically coming in to advocate. They live here. They come and advocate for those who are fleeing Florida. For instance, one person said to me, she called me in a panic in Spanish and said to me, "Blanca, I heard that there's this new law here in Maryland where they are not going to hire illegals." I said, "Where did you hear that?" Well, that's why people are fleeing back from Florida. They're coming here.
You said they are going to hire illegals here or not?
She said to me that they're in Florida, they heard that there's a new law that employers will not hire illegals.
Right.
Is that true? So the people in Florida are fleeing here to get work here in Maryland.
In Maryland, of course.
So I had to tell her the truth because, see, the truth never hurts. I tell people the truth is actually liberating. People say the truth's going to hurt. No. Why would a truth hurt when truth actually can liberate you? It can actually establish you and solidify you. Okay, this is what truth does. Truth shines through and penetrates in the deepest of darkness, depths. So you're not going to tell me the truth is going to hurt. But this person, I told her, let me tell you the truth. The truth is that there's already a federal law that says that we are not allowed to hire illegals, that people should be following the E-Verify like Domino's does. That's why I order pizza from there. They do E-Verify. That's why. They verify that that employee can be hired, that they have the right documentation, not the right documentation, that they have the proper documentation to hire, okay? So I told her that this is a flat out lie. I told her who is the author of lies, and that there is a pandering effort to make sure that everybody votes, and I'll say it, that every Hispanic votes Democrat for the next 500 years. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I told her that it's a lie. People are fleeing Florida because of a lie, and then they're coming right here to hear another lie. And so I know for a fact that over 300 people came to Baltimore 2 months ago. Ponca Street, right in Southeast Baltimore, charter buses have come in. And so you're not going to continue to lie to people And I'm going to
Well,
say
somebody,
it.
but
I'm
I
going to
think
say
people
to
are doing
people
it. I
what
think,
it is.
yeah, but I think there are
This
some
is everywhere.
right. But I think there
And-
are some, like you mentioned, people here and in these New York and other places, like
Okay.
wasn't it Octavia? Was Octavia AOC? People like
What,
her,
Ocasio
yeah,
or
Ocasio,
Ted?
right? Who
Mhm.
who tell people this also, and they somehow get around the laws, and they give these people work, illegal immigrants work.
Well, of course,
been
they're
happening.
no. Well, the work, but remember, no matter if you work without papers, you may be also. See, this is the thing. If you come here and you're promised something for free, or you're promised a job, when then you do not get paid for doing that job, then there's legal advocates to make sure that you get your back pay. What about the people? Oh yes, oh yes.
What about the citizens who need?
Well, you know,
legal
just like I said, just go to Popeyes right over here in New Orleans and East Fayette
Oh,
Street,
yeah.
and just see the whole entire turnover.
Yeah.
There were people,
right.
brown people, that were working there. Not one brown person works there.
You
At
see
the
that?
corner
You
of
see that?
Orleans and Highland.
At Popeyes.
At Popeyes.
So this is what
So we are not talking about, and this is, I'm not talking about blacks and whites and no. But when I see an entire staff change, my thought is, what happened here? And where are they now? Yes, I am all for employment, but you have replaced, because that's what the Democrats want to do. They want to replace, and then they want to dispose.
Indoctrinate,
They want to
right.
replace,
I
they
have
want to
that.
dispose.
Mhm.
And that is happening. So what happens to those people who were qualified to work? I'm not saying these people are not qualified. What I'm saying to you is that it's the
Shift.
replace and dispose method. And that should outrage. If I was black, I would be outraged.
Right.
I would be.
Well, we I mean, we
I
do
would be.
see. I certainly
No, really, I've seen that. And just recently, I've seen that shift in Popeyes. Not just one, because I love biscuits. And I've gone to a few Popeyes in the area, and I have seen the staff shift.
Yeah. Well,
All for entrepreneurship. But the thing is, when you have to replace, and I'm just going to go right there. I don't really care. I don't really
there.
care. Let's talk about the white woke women.
Let's talk about it.
No, I'm tired of it.
well, let me hold that.
I'm
Wait,
tired of
wait,
it
hold.
because it's the white woke woman, which I know plenty of, where it is, let's pander a minority base group in order for us to get into power. And I don't care who doesn't disagree with it, because I've seen it here in Maryland.
Well, it's not just white. This is what we're talking about next. So, I want to move on to the controversy surrounding Vivek Ramaswamy. So, Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy on Friday called Democratic Rep. Ayanna Pressley and author Ibram Kendi modern grand wizards of the modern KKK at a campaign appearance in Iowa. It came in response to a voter question asking Ramaswamy, whose parents immigrated to the U.S. from India, if critics would blame him for white supremacy or call him part of white supremacy. This was Ayanna Pressley's response to him doing this. Take a look. Oh, 1 second. So let me give you some more background. So Ramaswamy responded saying, Ayanna Pressley, she's in the Congress today. She's a member of the squad. Her words, not mine. We don't want any more black faces that don't want to be a black voice. Yeah. This is what Ayanna Pressley said. We don't want any more brown faces that won't want to be a brown voice, don't want to be a brown voice. Ramaswamy then quoted best-selling author Kendi, that's Ibram X. Kendi, I believe, from his book, How to Be Anti-Racist. Here is what it says, said Ramaswamy. The remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination. These are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK, said Ramaswamy. So he is referring to Ayanna Pressley and Ibram X. Kendi, calling them the modern KKK. So they took they were very upset about this comparison or description. Ayanna Pressley went on to MSNBC saying that her parents were victims of the KKK, and she was very upset by it. What are your thoughts on this, T?
She went all the way around the world to say nothing. That's my thoughts about it. She went to talk about burning crosses in her house or at her family's house and slavery 300 years ago, and her grandparents or family or whoever was discriminated against in the 80s,
Right.
which had nothing to do with what they were talking about. She just liked to gather the emotions of people, which it didn't even make sense, her response. So I was confused on what she was even saying, to be honest, just from a logical perspective.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on this, Blanca. I mean, we see here, you would think, 2023, you think we'd be a post-racial
Right.
nation, but it's the left and Democrats continue this talk about race. What are your thoughts there?
Well, first of all, Dana Bush from the Clinton News Naysayers Network, she's a liberal person.
Mm-hmm.
So when she asked Vivek to have, can we have an intelligently honest conversation, there's no news reporting anymore.
Mm-mm.
She's not reporting news. She's coming off like, I get to ask the questions.
Right.
I get to basically, control the narrative,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically what's happening here. As far as, first of all, if you call someone whatever he supposedly called, and she was, I know Dana Bash was saying, well, you did call her modern day KKK
She
grand
is a
wizard.
modern day KKK.
And
She is.
the thing is, okay, you can call somebody, I don't know, purple tree with gold leaves. I don't really care. What is this representative really done for the people who elected her? So Dana is, but God forbid they call people and we don't, go,
right.
like we were called basket case deplorables. This is so, and I'm not going to take my statement back. I should have worn my shirt. It says I stand on the comment that I made about certain people that want power forever and ever. I stand on that. So we ain't the ones, and I stand with Vivek.
Yeah, I agree too. I think she is a KKK. I mean, but at least with the KKK, you knew what they were because they had on the hoods and things like that. This woman, and if you saw the video of the interview, she looks like some android. She sits up there, this black woman, and she peddles race just to get votes and just to trick people in using their emotions, to get votes. That's what they do.
And it keeps them in the cycle of oppression that
Mm-hmm.
they're oppressed because they're keeping them oppressed by keeping them in slavery, literally in slavery in their minds. And so all of this talk and emotionalism that they're given, that's what they're doing. And I don't see how people don't see that they're being brainwashed and taken advantage of and used.
Yeah.
Like this is what, on this end, this is what freedom really is. And they don't have that. They don't have the freedom and liberation of their minds. So they're going to stay in this control.
I agree. I totally agree. And the idea of race, it was created initially to divide, to divide us and to show one person is higher than other based on race. So continuing to perpetuate that idea of race, it's never going to get us to an equal plane. We're never going to be considered to bring us together because the idea of race is about division. And when you think about Africa, nowhere in the world is there more a racially diverse place on the planet than Africa. But by woke metrics, they would all be put in the same box and racialized as Black, despite there's genetic diversity amongst Africans.
Look at Morocco.
Right.
And look at South Africa.
Exactly.
South Africa.
Right. But if you look at it,
Egypt.
Right. But if you go by woke measurements, everybody's Black. Everybody's oppressed. And it's not the case. It's not the case at all. But they continue to perpetuate this because they know this is some type of tie on people's emotions and they play on it. And
I mean,
Black
if they're
people
not even
have taken it hook, line, and sinker.
If they're not even free in Africa, then where the heck are they going to be free at?
Yeah,
That's supposed to be a place where you say everyone's Black.
Right.
They're not free. If the left is saying that they're not free in Africa, not free here, where the heck are we going to be free at?
They don't want any place to be free.
Obviously.
Yeah, and that's the key. They want to use this idea of race and to create these different class types based on race. So now they're trying to swing the pendulum the other way. Before, using race was used to put or subjugate dark-skinned people, black people, and you give white people this status. Well, now they're trying to do it a totally different way. In the words of Kendi, even Max Kendi, past racism, you have to use future racism to fix it. That doesn't fix it.
Keeping them in the loop, in the cycle.
Yeah. And many times, as I have here in my notes, it's used as a race is used as a proxy for circumstances. Some people are adversely racialized and some are advantageously racialized. So it's, again, we need to get away from it. We are all human beings. And definitely, if you are a Bible believer, you certainly shouldn't be looking at people along these racial lines. I had to come across with this. You know, I came out with this. I used to do that. I used to be that way too. But, you know, in the Bible, we are all human beings. It's the only difference is Gentiles and Jews. And when Jesus died on the cross, everybody can get the life. Everyone can get life. So, I mean,
but I want to also interject and not disagree. But don't you see? I mean, I'm in my 50s now. I'll be 52 next month. And in the 41 years that I have lived here, that not in this a world, but in this nation, it has been one race that hasn't been the supreme, like the supposed, white supremacy. But it has been. I have seen this, where somebody even said, "Oh, you're white enough to be white. You're not dark enough to be Hispanic." Okay, whatever. Okay, I really said whatever that. But there has been. I have seen it. I have seen where whites have tried to pander. They have tried to oppress the very people they say they want to help. I have seen it. And I'm not saying, and that's why I'm going to stand by that. A lot of people were elected, even in the Maryland state delegate, that were basically a delegate, and all of a sudden they have a state position. They were in the city, and all of a sudden they've never had office, and all of a sudden they're delegates. How do you go from there to there? And I'll tell you, there is a mechanism. I'm not saying that that I have something against the actual skin color. What I mean is, as a race, whites still use metrics to control people. Not all, but I have seen it.
Well, give me an example. What do you mean by that?
I have seen where people even running for office in the local elections here, they want to identify with those who they are basically pandering for votes.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, pandering.
Well,
they're using race as a way to
get the minority vote vote for them, that while they climb the ladder and somebody else is building the rungs.
Yes, okay.
Malcolm X said it himself, is to be careful of the white liberal. We keep quoting Malcolm X on this show. We're going to keep doing that because he said it. And we have the most respect for Malcolm X. Be careful of the white liberal. They're the ones keeping you oppressed.
Right. And again, it's this whole idea is just being used to pander, like you said,
to vote, to stay in control.
Yeah, and people just don't see it, but yet they call us, Uncle Toms, but they're using the phrase incorrectly, and it's not the way. But this was all in response to the terrible shooting in Jacksonville. So in Jacksonville, Florida, this was in response to that, which was all over the news. Once again, I mean, it is a terrible shooting, and it was, done racially motivated. However, we don't see them talk about, 30 plus kids who were shot here in Brooklyn, Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland, and we had 2 of them died. Just 2 weekends ago in Chicago, 14 kids were shot. I mean, they don't talk about that. And so again, they're using these types of racial lines to pander and to play on people's emotions. They don't give a damn about these people. They don't give a damn about Black people. They just want to pander, because if they did, they would talk about these killings.
And the more that they use their votes to get their agenda. And it's not black people. It's whatever it is. I still haven't figured that out yet. But they're using their black people to get to this point of what New World Order is what they call it. Who knows what it is? But it's not going to help anyone at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yes. But it's up to
time will tell.
People have to wake up though. You what they say, you fool me once, shame on on you. You fool me twice, shame on me.
Exactly.
So I mean, people have to wake up and stop going along with this. Stop allowing yourselves to be used. Look at the data. I mean, again, you talk about white supremacy. White supremacy is supposed to be the number one cause or the number one
domestic threat
to us. White supremacists are responsible for 0.001% of all murders each year, according to the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Statistics for 2021. Black people are responsible for 60% of all murders in the U.S.
Hand to me, please. Period.
Why are we? We don't have to worry. We have to worry about us.
We are our own enemies here. But the white supremacists, whoever they are, who are they again?
That's really sad.
The point
is
it
so
is
0.1%.
sad. I look at this data and I don't like it. I don't.
It's 6 out of 10
sad.
people.
But they defend them. That's the crazy
6
part.
out of 10 people are affected, and no one is the greatest threat is a parent at the PTA. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A parent at the PTA.
At the PTA, the board meetings.
I mean,
The district.
Last month, June, we had 22 homicides here in Baltimore City. Baltimore City, not Maryland. 22 homicides, 54 non-fatal shootings in June. Again, in July, we had that shooting, a mass shooting, 30 victims. Out of those 30 victims, the ages of the victims range from 13 to 32. And were an estimated 14 who were under the age of 18. This Jacksonville shooting, now again, my heart goes out to those people who were killed. It is wrong. But where's the outcry for Baltimore? And where's the outcry for Chicago?
When we bring things up like that, they say that we're distracting from the real problem. Real problem is white supremacy, of course, but we're being distracting to the real problem. We don't want to we know black people kill each other, but we don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about the white people.
That's like saying, I am suffering from cancer, but I'm worried about a hangnail. When the real thing is the cancer.
Yep.
That's what's going to kill me, really.
Yes.
I mean, not a hangnail.
Right.
And also, we're trying to put policies, which are basically Band-Aids when you're hemorrhaging.
Right.
You're basically hemorrhaging. Let me get another Band-Aid on you.
The first thing they want to say is, we got to do something with gun control, gun laws. Look at this. The guns are in the hood. And ain't nobody trying.
And what are they going to do about belts? Because sadly, my mom was killed with a belt.
Oh
well.
So what are they going to do about belts? They're going to take them away too? I was 3. So what are they going to do with that? How about Evelyn? Remember Evelyn Player? The lady who was in the church as a volunteer working, she was killed with a knife. They're going to get rid of the knives too. They're going to get rid of the knives too.
Yeah.
So first, no, it is, I don't remember what Chief spoke this past week I just saw that said, when I put my gun down, he said it. When I put my gun down right here, that gun does not shoot itself. It's until somebody intentionally picks it up. And if an evil person is going to they can use this pen, the evil intent. What are they going to do about belts?
Yeah.
How about cars? How about this person who had that accident and caused that fatal? We're going to ban cars, but no, the guns.
Yeah.
But we're always going to be better when a good guy has a gun to protect us than a bad one. With it.
We do have to move on. I do want to acknowledge we have a super chatter here, Chadwick. He says, keep up the good work, ladies. So thank you so much for your donation, Chadwick. Yes, we certainly appreciate it.
$10.
Yes,
thank you, Mr.
Thank you so much. So definitely we appreciate it. So we are going to move right along to here again in Maryland. And this stuff, I mean, we are warning the country because Baltimore City is sort of like ground zero for this leftist sickness. So they start a lot of stuff here and then they push it out across the country. And this is what we're seeing. And so we just had a groundbreaking ruling here in Montgomery County, Maryland. So a federal court in Maryland ruled Thursday that parents don't have the right to opt out their child of a curriculum that includes books about radical gender theory. They cannot opt them out. Biden-appointed judge Deborah L. Boardman said that parents' asserted due process right to direct their children's upbringing by opting out of a public school curriculum that conflicts with their religious views is not a fundamental right. Fox News reported. Last year, Montgomery County Public Schools introduced 22 new books into elementary age classrooms that featured LGBTQ characters and radical gender theory topics, and then stopped parents from opting their children out of gender and sexuality instruction in March. So we are talking about pre-K through 8th
Elementary.
grade. Yes, indeed. Oh,
The
my
babies.
goodness. I want to acknowledge another super chatter. That is, what's a jutsu? What's a jutsu? Thank you so
What's a
much.
jutsu?
He says, once again, you all bring amazing conversations to the table. Thank you.
Oh,
we
thank
certainly
you.
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Super chatters, we love you.
Yes. So, I mean, I want to get your thoughts on this, Blanca.
Well, I want to say, look how quickly things moved. Look how quickly.
Ground zero.
You're talking about in May of this year. May of this year is when parents sued.
Yeah.
August 24th, federal judge ruled that that they do not have a fundamental right to opt out. But we can opt out of having our kids vaccinated for religious reasons. We can unenroll our own children from public school system and enroll them in the school system, in a homeschool. Homeschool. And we can accept or not the push to have them get the HPV vaccine.
Oh, wow.
So you're talking about religious reasons, talking about education reasons, and talking about medical. I mean, that HPV is not required. It's not a required vaccination for a child to be enrolled in public schools. So those three things, yet what is being introduced at an early age, And again, I'm going to go back to who is doing the pandering, who is doing the pushing, who is doing the propelling kids to really, they're priming them. You know, I don't want to use that word that starts with a G, priming them to think of themselves. And you know, I just thought about it. It's almost like you need to be selfish enough to think that you may not be yourself.
Right. I mean, we have to, I mean, let's break this down here, because what they're doing, you won't even be aware that they're pushing this. So your kid could be getting a book in the classroom, and we've seen gender queer, we've seen these very detailed and graphic picture books that show men having sex with men, dildos, all kinds of things. You won't even know. They're just going to do this for your child, and then you won't even get an opt-out. What are your thoughts?
That is infuriating. As a parent, you've lost control of your own child. That as a woman, a real woman who's birthed a child, you birthed a child, your own child. You know where they come from. You know where they come, the area they come out of. And when you get to elementary school, you can't even control or have the access to control your child and what she's learning or what they're learning.
Yeah,
it's infuriating. And I don't understand why parents don't. Well, I guess they try.
Yeah. Well, they're
try
a massive protest,
right?
And it actually, which was, I mean, I won't say shocking, but a lot of the protests, because this community is heavily populated by the Muslim community. and many of them were out protesting because a lot of times we see the narrative push that this is a Christian thing. Christians don't want this things, given to the children. But these were Muslim women, Muslim moms and dads who were fighting against it, and they lost.
And they said, and I wanted to quote, the no opt out policy does not pressure the parents to refrain from teaching their faiths. It's just to encourage and conduct what will violate their religious beliefs. This is violating their religious beliefs. I don't understand. How are you telling, it's not gonna, we're not telling them what to believe. We're just saying this is what we're gonna teach them. But
So what do we
those
do?
things are violating religious beliefs.
Right.
Well, also there is an update that they are going to ask for an injunction from the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Yeah, they're gonna appeal.
They're going to they are the ruling on this will be this fall sometime. And I wrote down these three words that are someone recently said on the national stage, that part of their plan is to decrease the population.
Oh.
So the population isn't just being decreased by not reproducing, which is probably the most strongest defense that humans have.
Right.
But to decrease the population, not just to not reproduce, but also to not think anymore as a living human being, that you already exist.
Right.
In other words, you already exist, but you don't have to even think or consider reproducing, because it's to me, it's like they have reduced people to no longer reproduce. And so how much more can you reduce? And I mean, to me, isn't that discrimination?
Right.
Isn't that discrimination when you are reducing a human to no longer reproduce?
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about that last week. Not only are they doing it this way educationally,
Right?
because when you talk
Right.
about LGBT, same sex, it's not biological sex. So again, they're teaching and priming, as you said, children not to reproduce, to
Right.
self-pleasure, things like that.
Right.
But then policy-wise, we're seeing this all across the country with the Biden administration's policies. They're no longer pushing you to buy a home buying. Now the Biden administration has rolled out a complete plan to make everyone kind of renters. So they're pushing rentals. They're pushing the idea of apartments. Any city you go in now, you see these condos, you see these apartments popping up. So they're pushing it that way. Also, there's this new policy. We're going to talk about this in an upcoming show called Complete Streets, I believe it is, where not only they're pushing out families from these areas. So they're trying to get rid of cars. They're trying to put you in apartments, and they're trying to make you not conducive to have a family.
The electric cars.
Right.
Not even.
Yeah, maybe
That's another form of when everything shuts down. If everything shuts down, then you're not going to be able to have access to control.
It's a form of control. Yeah.
No longer being mobile, no longer being able to move
On
about,
your own.
and no longer being able to even express thought. So this is it's dangerous. You said it before. You have warned people. We are doing our part. But it sounds surreal that we're in 2023, and we also need to understand that people are they don't even see the value of voting. I've heard so many people. I've talked to people, and they say, I used to vote, or I haven't voted for 20 years. One person said to me about 2 weeks ago, they said, I have not voted for 20 years.
Well, they're voting against their own interests. Because, like you mentioned,
but there's no more value in voting. In other words, if they don't believe it's going to count. That's what I'm saying is, if people were committed to voting, I'm not saying just voting till you just pull the lever, go like this, eeny meeny. No, it's like, have I searched? Have I searched who this individual is? Research. But in other words, so if voting is no longer valuable, if the flag can no longer, you can stand for it. My son told me today, because I was getting ready to be with you ladies, I said to him, at school, did they recite, because we just started, it's the third day in, at school, did they recite the pledge? And he said, no.
Oh, they're taking that away as well.
But then you go
They're not
see
the pledge is not being
classrooms and they got
recited.
BLM
Not
and they
being
got the
recited.
rainbow flags and all.
Again, reduce in order for us to no longer reproduce.
Right. And again, and that's a good point, because not only do they not want us reciting the pledge, but then civics. I mean, we talked about the little boy who
Yes.
the teacher didn't even realize that the flag, don't tread on me, didn't have anything to do with racism, with slavery. It was a Revolutionary War. You have a teacher, an administrator trying to tell them this, and they don't even know what they're talking about because it's not taught in schools.
No.
All they want to talk about is LGBT
and CRT and
wake up, people. Wake up. You have to wake up, and you have to get involved and stand up against this, because I know a lot of people out there think, oh, well, that's Baltimore and you know, they're run by a bunch of liberals. This is coming, and it certainly is going to come if we don't get Biden out of the White House.
Facts.
If Biden gets another election, another term, he is going to see it as a mandate, and they are going to run roughhouse over all this out. So we definitely need to push ahead and push against this. Stand up. Share this broadcast. Send it in a DM. Share it on your timeline and spread the word. We have to stand up against this. So I do want to recognize we have another super chatter here. We have here Captive Sojourner.
Okay.
So she
Captain.
says liberals bark about systemic racism in the systems they control. Exactly.
Yes.
City, country, state, top, all controlled by liberals, but blame whites in red states.
Yes.
Their
Exactly.
plan.
Aye, Captive.
That's the plan.
Captive. Oh.
Yeah, Captive. Yeah, Captive Sojourner.
It's a playbook.
You're correct. And we
Absolutely.
have another one here. Thank you so much, Alan. He has is super chatter. I believe that's $10 or $20. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you so much.
I remember Mr. Churchill.
Yes, thank
Yes.
you. Thank you
Remember
so
that.
much. Certainly appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching tonight. We have some more. We are sounding the alarm here for you all across the country, all across the world. You may not see this in your local districts, but this stuff, Baltimore City is ground zero for this type of leftist anarchy. I mean, I have no other words for
That's
it.
what it is.
Yeah, and they're trying to make this spread all across the country. So if we don't stop it now, if we don't push back against this is coming to a town near you.
Exactly.
It is. So yeah.
So,
All right, so moving right along to these bills that have been pushed in Maryland. They're up in, I believe, in the General Assembly in 2024. And they're awful and they're scary. We have one bill here that seeks to decriminalize the penalty of knowingly transmitting, infecting someone with HIV.
oh my God.
So this is a bill here in the Senate, basically repeals the prohibition on an individual from knowingly transferring or attempting to transfer the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, to another individual. So, I mean, I get it. You know, you're pushing LGBT in schools.
Oh, that makes sense.
You're pushing this type of stuff on kids. So you will spread STDs and HIV. And so they got to decriminalize it, I guess. It's ridiculous. I want to get your thoughts on this, T. So go to you first. I mean, what do you think about this and this idea of decriminalizing it?
It's disgusting. As a single person who's dating, I'm like, let me go ahead and husband, please find me ASAP to get out of these streets, because this is insane. This is insane, y'all. Come rescue me, sir, please. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. I mean,
Because it's nasty. Oh my God.
Blanca, I mean, you've been on the forefront of these bills. This is just one of three. What are your thoughts here?
It's sad. I mean, it's sad that a single person has to wonder, or not just be cautious. It's not even about that, but I see it as we have become so morally bankrupt. It's like we're willing to do whatever. We're willing to have whatever. You know, I told my 3 boys, you're a gift. And I hope, because I have no control over their choices, but that they would actually receive a gift by it being a gift. And I understand there's divorce and I understand that, but we're talking about people just being so morally bankrupt that you're willing to just get a fix. I mean, there's a billboard there, it shows the peak of an iceberg. There's a billboard on near 25th in Sisson Street, and it shows the peak. The image of an iceberg. You only see the peak, and it says gonorrhea outbreak. And it shows you a website. And I said, is the problem that big that you have to put a billboard up?
Oh, it is.
And
Get
you have one
tested.
for AIDS too.
Yeah.
Get
right
tested.
now, this area, I believe, Baltimore, and if you include DC, we have more HIV and gonorrhea cases than sub-Saharan Africa. If you measure it population to population, so I mean, it is beyond out of control. It is beyond out of control, and now it's even worse because back in my generation, you were scared to get HIV.
Right.
I mean, but now they push this idea of popping a pill. You get your pill every month or every week, and you can live with HIV, which may be true, but who wants to do that?
No.
But then you have this. You have this. They're pushing this. Free sex. Free love,
This
and
must be
sex.
worse than the 60s.
Yeah,
This must be worse.
Oh, it's worse.
Oh,
And because at least then you had a little bit of shame. Now they've taken shame away. Make it great to call someone a whore again.
Right.
This is what
There we go.
Wow.
This is what we need some shame.
Yeah.
We need some shame. We don't have that anymore.
Nope.
And now people have gone crazy and sleep with any and everybody
Wow.
they want to, and they're
they-
passing out these HIV, gonorrhea, everything.
They're promoting it. They're promoting it through music, the
Mhm.
culture,
Oh, yes.
and everything. We got, we always talk about Sukihana and
Yeah, right.
and what's the other girl named Sexy Red, which they're selling out concerts.
Right.
Sexy Red is selling out concerts.
Right.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is where we're living in right now. Free everything. Everybody have sex. Everybody do everything.
With
What it
any
is.
and every hole that you have.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Also, I
wanna
want to just
That
add
part.
that on the same billboard that I mentioned earlier, because there's a local landfill there, and sometimes we forget to put the trash out. You don't want that to be there, so we put, we go there, and there was the billboard had the image of a child writing on the wall, crayons. You get the image that a little toddler, and it says, "Don't want to be a parent? Use a condom." So it's already you're that's a normal thing for a parent that would have a little toddler, would I'm not saying to write on the walls, but it's criminalized that you would, you don't want to be a parent. You don't want to deal with, a little, whatever. I'm not going to call anybody a name, but yeah, you don't want this. What kind of image is that? People, I sometimes I'm glad people can't read in Baltimore. That way, maybe they can't read that billboard. I'm glad people read. Maybe they can see that as a maybe they're registry for pre-K.
Yeah.
No, so I'm starting to see
It's
how
not.
this all is rolling out now because they took the fathers out of the home.
Of course, Lyndon B. Johnson.
And they took the fathers out of the home and they've put systems in place for women to win in court where men don't even want to have anything to do with their children. And I know y'all say, oh, they need to push, but that's a whole struggle right there. And now, we're going to go there.
Yeah, no.
But
There's
then we
some
go,
women. There's some women.
there are
that-
some
that-
women,
that-
but we're not going to go there because
There's
they
some
don't,
women,
there are some women,
some
a
women.
lot of women that trip and create
Some
these
women.
toxic environments for fathers.
Right.
There's some women who are evil.
All right, we said we weren't going to go there.
Because we got 3 women here that wouldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
So I
3
mean,
women
it's
here,
not.
but-
I don't believe it's most, but I do believe there are some women.
There-
I do.
The vast majority, and any man that's gone through it can tell you that.
But anyway, we move on.
Anyway,
we have to move
disagree
on.
with
so
you.
I'm seeing,
Mhm.
I'm seeing the progression.
There's
They're
men
taking
and
the-
women.
they're
There's
make-
men and women.
They're
that-
leaving these children vulnerable. They're leaving the men and women vulnerable. They're leaving the children vulnerable to just do whatever they want to do.
They are. We do have to move on to. There's another bill that is coming down the pike. removing God and religious freedom in Maryland. So the Maryland legislators seek to remove references to God and remove protections for religious freedom. This bill removes portions of articles within the Maryland Bill of Rights and removing all references to God in the Maryland Constitution. So we go from not opting out your kid to learn about dildos and self-pleasure to removing God from our Constitution and every facet of our lives.
Yeah, replace God with dildos.
This is great. This is awful.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah,
literally. Replace God with dildos. So instead of, well, I ain't gonna go there. I'm not gonna make that reference, but it's somebody's effing somebody.
All right. So my question is, so remove. That means that you're admitting that something existed there. Mm-hmm. If I remove this pen and move it over here, no longer there. Mm-hmm. I moved it. Now, if I go and fling it out the door, that doesn't mean that that pen doesn't exist. Right. This is just an anti-God General Assembly that rather deny, because first of all, they're already living in a state of really, again, this is again the bankrupt. The bankruptcy is not just in people's bank accounts.
Right.
How can you, first of all, this has been from the beginning. The Maryland General Assembly hasn't always existed, right, but he has. Right. He has. It's just it's amazing grace that some of us are still breathing today. Yeah. He holds us. Yeah. He holds the days. Yeah. None of us are promised tomorrow, but we're willing to you cannot take white out and remove. Somebody was saying earlier, I was listening to, that the reference of God's name being both holy and reverend, that he said that he would consider himself, like he would be blasphemy if somebody would call him Reverend so-and-so. Well, because he is not,
the foundations of our country were built on the idea of a creator.
In which other country in the world has that foundation?
Okay.
Which one?
Russia.
Which other country has a constitution like ours?
None that I know of. Is there? What is it?
There isn't.
Oh, right. Okay.
There isn't.
Well,
there isn't.
Where are the religious organizations? Where are the churches? Where are the people who are saying, what? You're going to remove God from the Maryland Constitution? Where are all those preachers that are praying for Westmore and praying for Biden when it's time to vote? Where are all those preachers right now that they're taking God out of everything Maryland?
Yeah.
But there is a difference. There's a difference between being religious and being redeemed. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference. Right. There's a big difference of saying, holy temple of the whatever Almighty. But I mean, if you're gonna, there's a redemption story from Genesis to the end, like from the word in until the last word in the Bible that says amen. The whole story is redemption. But many are running around being religious, because remember, remember, that's from the word religio. When you take a rubber band and you wind it around your fingers, that's religio. You're attached to something. God is not attached to us. He's his own being. That's religion. Right. That is why there's a difference between being redeemed and being religious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the same concept. Where are the leaders who?
Very few.
They're done. They're gone. It's not.
I think there's very few that would.
Yeah, we've gotten to the point now.
There's so many. It's churches on every corner. 3 or 4 churches on every corner.
Yeah, but
they might close if they speak against this.
Not just that, but we've gotten to a point now where you can't look to them for this.
I mean,
it's sad
not
to
for
say.
moral
Yes,
compass.
It's
not
sad
for
to say,
compass,
but
no.
And the Bible talks about it. That the church is going to be not a place, but inside of you. And that's where we've gotten to a point now where these religious leaders are so corrupt. I mean, most of them are Democrat, pushing abortion from the pulpit, pushing
who to vote to, which is an illegal act. Right, yes. Who to vote for from the pulpit, which as a 501c3 they shouldn't.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and pushing. They don't push. You don't even hear about sexual purity anymore. You don't even
no.
hear about any of that type of
No.
stuff. Now they're
Chastity.
pushing, like you said, they got
No.
billboards showing the condoms, so you don't have a kid. I mean, we've gotten so off the path that it's ridiculous. That's why you have to find like-minded people who have the similar values as yourself, and you build a church of your own around them. And I say church, but whatever faith-based institution. And when I say, it could be in your home, it could be, at the coffee shop, whatever it is, like minds come together and you build your own church surrounding your religious
But
book.
that sounds good. But what about in this case where they're where is the stand against this type of stuff?
Right. Well, will stand against it. I mean, Blanca, you've been down there testifying, across the
numbers though.
Right. We need numbers.
I went there to
Blanca's
support
always
to support the parents' rights
Right.
bill.
Mhm.
And you know what I was told? What do you mean? Well, what if a delegate asked, well, what if a parent has a child and they refuse to give the medical help they need, and that child could die? And I said, sir, and he, respectfully, he told me he has cerebral palsy. I said, sir, my son has cerebral palsy. I would never withhold medical, but we also should hold a quality education.
Right.
This is not about, you would let, no, there are some religions who practice, they don't have blood transfusion. We're not talking about that.
Right.
Parents' rights bill that we talked about was, again, to return to the sense that the parent is the first teacher.
Right.
But they didn't want to hear that.
No,
They didn't want to hear that.
They don't want to hear that.
They wanted to
Well,
go around the
yeah.
bush and talk about withholding medical. What? Letting.
Well, this is what they do. They don't come with facts. They don't come with figures. They try to change the whole entire conversation to something that makes no sense. But it's an emotional pull. So you see what they did. So
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, here's
this.
Here's this lady who let her children, die in their arms." No, I said respectfully, sir, my son also has cerebral palsy.
Mhm.
He was born at 1 pound. I said I would never and have never withheld the medical that he needs.
Right.
But they impose what they want to impose.
Right. And we do have another bill here. This is the final bill that's being pushed through: education mandates, excluding parents and removing local control. This is what you were mentioning here. Yes. So requiring each county board of education to follow the policy and guidelines for program instruction for public schools established by the State Board of Education, requiring the superintendent to notify a county board if it is determined that the county board is not following every element of the policy and guidelines. So can you just sum this up? What are they saying here?
Okay, what they're saying is basically they no longer call it the Kerwin Commission. I guess people Googled who Kerwin was and found that he was really the architect, Brett Kerwin. So now it's the blueprint. And the blueprint must include, the DIE. It's the DIE policy, which it includes diversity, inclusion, and equity. And so now, along with DIE, you have to also include the sexual nature of education, which we no longer are going to be allowed to opt out of. That's the battle here. But
they're trying to make it across Maryland.
Oh, they're trying to make it across Maryland. Yes,
And this is what
across
we're
Maryland.
talking about.
And
you guys, because I know we have an audience. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we have an audience that is not just here in Maryland, and we're talking about this issue as a state issue. This is an issue that will affect you eventually.
Yep.
They are pushing these types of mandates across the country. So, when we talk about this, we're warning you. We are warning you to stay on the lookout for these things because it's coming. It's coming. It's coming to everywhere. If you're not living in an area with a Republican governor, or even if you do have a Republican governor, maybe your locality is run by leftist lunatics, this is coming. So Some people may say, oh, that's happening in Maryland. It won't happen here. They are trying to make this national issues that affect people across the country. And honestly, when you think about America and the United States globally, because things that happen here, they try to stretch across the world. So be on the lookout and push against it. What were you saying,
Also,
Blanca?
yes, along with what you said, it would be mandated for them to follow the policy of instruction. However, if they do not follow it, they're going to have their funds taken from them.
Oh, you always have to tie it to
And
money.
so you then
10%.
who is going to 10%? So who's going to monitor who is not following? Is it going to be an internal type of thing where, what is it that
Teachers probably.
So if they're not being followed, 10% is going to be withheld. And so this is not, it's just, sounds like ransom to me.
I just find it funny how they are so convenient. Like they're so convenient with everything. Okay, so they're saying, and it's like they're closing in on the control. Now they're saying, oh, constricting. That's what it is.
No, an anaconda does that.
They're having contractions.
Well, that's what it's all about.
An anaconda does
That's
that.
what it's all
An
about.
anaconda
They're going to burst this chaos.
Right. And control the children, control the way they think or not think, control them not to be critical thinkers, control them that way, then they control us the way we live, with these policies coming down. They're doing anti-homeowner. They want to create a renter nation. So they control how much lights you use, how much electricity, how much gas. This is all about control.
That's what it's about.
And it's incremental, and it's slow, and it's done in a way that we won't realize that it's part of a larger plan until the whole thing has been implemented.
This is their religion.
It's a slow simmer.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's a slow
Exactly.
simmer.
And so that's why it takes us all to be vigilant. It really does. It takes us all to be vigilant, and no longer looking at these things across party lines.
Right.
Because, again, these are things that if you explain it correctly, I can't see why people on the, that maybe vote Democrat are gonna go for this. I don't think a lot of people realize what's actually happening.
It's good and evil. It's a
a
battle
lot of
between
people
good and evil. And right now, evil's winning, and they're pushing hard.
Yeah.
I disagree with that.
Oh,
Evil
go
has
ahead.
never won a battle.
I mean,
Has
right
never
now,
won a battle.
Currently,
Evil influences.
battles, but maybe not the war, but the battle.
Right.
Definitely.
Evil has an influence and an impact. But good has never lost a battle. It's always been not evil overcomes. Yes, and things are going to get worse. If people, especially like you said, about, who got their Bible out today? Who knows that the spiritual war is going to be won between the gravity with just holding that floor and your knees? Nobody. It's used to be a nation where, look at the history in Baltimore and New York, prayer revivals. It's like we can sound the alarm all we want, but how we're living our life, how are we impacting? Because evil will never.
I know you say that, but
evil. I'm not saying it's going to be
it's
squashed. I'm
progressing.
saying it's evil. Yes, it can have its influence, but there's always a remnant
That's
that
what I
is
was
going to. It's not our battle even. It's not even ours. But our children, though, I've read. Goodness, my husband's from Peru, like I told you. I've read about how they sacrificed these babies. They didn't even live in Peru. You didn't even name a child until they were 2, because they might not survive, either from war or being sacrificed. It's not that far away.
Well, we're
It's
still,
not that
we're
far.
still sacrificing
What do you
their
mean
lives.
sacrifice?
They're still sacrificing
Like
our children.
actual,
Yes.
like
The
pagans?
Incas were pagans. Yes.
What's going
And
on?
We're
and
doing
now
it
though
now.
it's done not outside the womb,
Right.
but in
Right.
the womb.
Right. Yeah, we have a lot too. But like you mentioned, a remnant, and you made me think about that, because when you said evil doesn't win, because we're still here.
Influence.
So
I'm saying
we're
the
stopping
pressure.
it here.
Right.
It may not
Yes.
seem like a lot. It may not seem like a lot of people are standing up against this, But I do believe some people are waking up, and I believe more than we know, more than we realize. I also believe that if we're still standing and we've got this broadcast and we pass on the information and things like that, then it affects somebody else. And then that person passes on, it affects somebody else. We are still standing, evil can't.
We can have the effect.
Yes.
We can have the
Yeah.
effect.
So
You can. We can.
there it is. So we do have one additional super chatter. Thank you so much. That is Kenzie, 14.
Oh, Kenzie. Kenzie always looks out.
Yeah, he or she says, you
Mhm.
women are inspiring. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Kenzie.
Yeah, so we certainly appreciate you guys. We appreciate everyone, you watching, you subscribing, you sharing and commenting throughout the night, throughout the week. We certainly do appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Super chat was lit tonight. Thank
yes,
y'all.
Yes. And again, we are the remnant. You guys are the remnant. And do not stay silent. You know, as I was on my way over here tonight, I was thinking, because I usually end the show with, thank you for watching, and until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. I say that at the end of every show. And so, we see a lot in statistics, in news where they say the younger generation does not have a purpose. They feel like they don't have a purpose. They feel like they don't know where they're going or what to do. And so I thought about that, and I think a lot of times we know, and for me it's God, but we know that God is calling us to a purpose, but we ignore it. So a lot of times, you're doing things and you have a common theme, in your life and things like that, and you have a purpose, and you choose to say, well, I don't know what my purpose is. You know deep down, but you don't. Some people are afraid.
We're like Jonah.
Yeah, or some people just don't. The responsibility, the accountability, the pressure of it is heavy. I'm telling you tonight, this is a message to you, a wake up call, or I don't know, confirmation. Listen to it. That voice, or that whatever you see that keeps coming up to you, or the theme in your life is telling you now is the time. Don't wait. Start working in your purpose. Start living your purpose, because you are needed. Whatever that purpose is, whatever you have to do, you are needed to do it, because you are here to do something. And that's what it is.
Yep. And what I've found is just do one thing. It doesn't have to be a grand thing, but just one thing towards that step.
Right. Exactly. So we are at the end of our show tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for joining us tonight, Blanca.
Yes, it's great to see you.
You guys, if you love Blanca, give us a thumbs up and to shout her out in the comments. Where can people find you, Blanca, if anyone wants to connect with you?
Sure. Well, I'm not on social media, like most young people. I'll be 52. But I am a tutor. I tutor adults and children. Someone just reached out today, and I'll be having a conversation tomorrow. Munir Bahar reached out last night. And then somebody at 4:00 said, I need a, so between 3 people and thank you for that word, that don't wait, live boldly. And so I am a tutor. I teach English and Spanish, and I also tutor children in Baltimore City currently on Saturdays that are 2 to 6 grades behind. And they're in the public school system, but
Wait,
I'm not.
That happens? Students
Yes.
are 6 grades behind?
Yes.
2 to 6.
Yes, 2 to 6 grade. Yes, I have a rising 5th grader who is not able to read 2 syllable words. They can only read 1 syllable words right now. Like the words like and or at or by or for, but that's it. Not anything like lively, double, medley.
But this is the stuff that they want to focus on.
And so I'm going to make a difference there. That's my calling, and that is love on them. And so you can pretty much, my email is Blanca Tapa, BlancaTapa @yahoo.com. this is not a solicitation for, actually, another person actually said to me before I came in the door, before the show, that they have a friend that has a daughter with special needs, because I taught her own daughter Spanish. She said, hey, can you help? So I believe that the Lord is saying, get ready. You're not you, you're going to make a difference. That way they can grow. And somebody taught me English. So thank you, Mrs. Goldberg, because the harvest is still, the harvest is still plentiful.
Absolutely.
And so
I
thank
might-
you.
I might
Reach out by
email you.
email.
I might email her myself. My Spanish is, I haven't used it in a long time.
It
so.
can,
Yeah.
If you don't use
it can
it,
be
use it.
improved, but it can be improved. It can
Yeah.
be improved.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, again, continue the conversation by checking us out right here on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and subscribe. That way you get up-to-the-minute content when we post, and we appreciate the support. We are an independent media, and each time you subscribe, it helps to make our voice that much stronger. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. Again, you can check us out on our website at www.popandpoliticslive.com for up-to-date information. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Bye.